Hiya, this is Darren and Monkey Bar 1. Today I'm going to do a turbo cider using the leftover bottles that I done in the last video of the lager, European lager homebrew. Now I've topped up the lager with 23 litres of mineral water. These bottles are clearly sanitised because they're containing a food group, so the water that was in there, I only had probably only a litre or so left, so that's gone. I'm going to use this bottle to make some turbo cider. Now, because I don't need to sanitise it, which is great, we can just go ahead and add our cider. This is a Tesco's apple juice. It's not from concentrate, but it does have ascorbic acid in it. Now I believe that's there to prevent it from fermenting, but hopefully we'll counteract that by adding a load more sugar. So what we'll do is get this in there. We're going to make a Ribena cider. And the Ribena has got plenty of sugars in it. Smells nice. Now I'm not planning on adding any more sugars. I'm just going to allow the sugars in the apple juice and the Ribena to do its job. Now the water bottle was 5 litres. And the apple juice is a litre each. That's 4 of those have gone in. Oh yeah. Do you know, I haven't had Ribena since I was a kid. So I'm going to put in probably a third of this, probably down to this band. If we take these bands as a third. Can't see anything, the label's in the way. Not really. There we go. Lovely. Oh yes. Colour looks pretty good, doesn't it? Give that a shake first. Where is it? Okay. So I'm just going to put a teaspoon of yeast. Now this is all supermarket materials, nothing from a brew shop anyway. So the apple juice from Tesco's, the Ribena from Tesco's, and I'm using Allison's yeast, dry active. It's for bread. It works. Might not give you the best results. It might taste a bit yeasty by the time that you get to drink it. But this is a cheap way of making some jail hooch. Basically, it's the easiest and quickest way. I didn't want to stick the spoon in there because it was wet, but I've ended up with sticky yeast mess in that jar. So in goes the yeast. Like that. So give it a shake, make sure it's all mixed up. We're going to take a gravity reading so we can get an idea of what our turbo cider hooch, prison hooch, whatever you want to call it, cheap plonk, see what that comes out at. Keep the lid on it, stop any dirt and dust getting in. A few bubbles. Oh, there's plenty of sugar in here. This is going to be an interesting brew. So a hydrometer is basically, or looks very similar to a fishing float, other than this has got numbers down the shaft of it, which is a gradient of the sugar content that you have in your liquid. The more sugar, the higher it floats, less sugar, the lower it goes. So you would expect water, having absolutely nothing in it, would be down below the mark, and probably have to turn it upside down to get it out. On mine I have red, yellow and green indicators. Gives you a visual indicator to how your brew is going. And they run from 1.0, I think what we got 1.120 at the bottom, all the way up to we got going on here, so that's 0.9986 is the lowest, and we're currently sitting, it bobs around, and I've got some really fine bubbles sitting around the number, but let's take a rough guess of what we're looking at here. 1.62. 1.62. So we know what our starting gravity is. Now the yeast will do its job in starting to ferment. The yeast eats the sugar that's in the liquid. The sugar gets ingested and pooed out the back end of your yeast, and that poo becomes your alcohol. And the more sugar, the more alcohol. And by the start of this, looks like we've got an absolute load of sugar. So we could have something that will blow your socks off, all for about £4. So now obviously I've gone and bought this and the yeast, but you know, a lot of people have those sort of ingredients in the cupboard, so you could end up just buying some apple juice. So yeast is in, giving it a shake. Now doing this on the cheap, so you could use a bubbler, drill a hole, put a grommet in there and stand it in there, or a balloon. I actually see people use condoms, strangely. Each to their own, I suppose. This will look bad enough, but so I've stuck it in the sanitizing liquid, so I'm not it's slippery and it's wet as an octopus. Right, there we go. We're on. Right, I'm happy with that. And that's what will happen. It will expand and inflate. I can burp it. So the headroom here is vital so that you don't overfill, because the yeast will get active and causes the CO2 to build up, and it'll froth up, and that froth will end up, if it's too full, obviously coming out or going into your bubbler. If you've got a bubbler here, it'll overspill. So you need headroom to allow the CO2 to expand and not allow your liquid to disappear out the top. So you'll find that will expand. I can burp it. Because it's CO2, the oxygen won't get into your drink and make it go off. The CO2 is heavier than oxygen, so it will sit in there. The oxygen will sit outside. You could leave that off and let the yeast do its own thing. The only reason that you have a sealed cap of some sort is to prevent insects and dirt and dust going in there. The CO2 that's generated by the yeast will ensure that the oxygen doesn't get to it, but it can't obviously prevent any solid mass or matter. So that's the only reason that you have a bubbler, to stop any ingress of dirt. The CO2 will keep the oxygen out. So we'll put that somewhere warm, ideally again centre of the house somewhere, in the airing cupboard, somewhere nice and warm for the next. This will probably only take 3 to 5 days, maybe 5 days max, before it sort of achieves what it's trying to do. Okay, let's get that moved, and we'll see you in the next video when we give it a try and see what it's like. Thanks for watching. I'm Darren, this is Monkey Bar 1. Please like and subscribe. And if you're interested, take a look at the Patreon page. And if you're willing to contribute, then I'm truly grateful. So take care, I'll see you soon.